Welcome to Positivity Podcast where we discuss positivity in today's society, especially as a teenager. I'm your host, Grace, and I'm thrilled to have you. Join me for this insightful, empowering conversation, so let's begin. For many of my listeners, the decision of homeschooling has shaped their teenage years in unique and exciting ways. This episode will be a deep dive into my experiences, sharing the moments that defined my homeschooling journey, how they set me apart in. The term homeschooling often comes with a lot of misconceptions regarding socialization and individuality. As homeschool teenagers, we want to break the stereotypes and express ourselves in many different ways. As someone who's been homeschooled for 5.5 years, I can say that I've experienced a lot of different people saying these things to me. And especially this year as I've began my content creation journey and making videos about homeschooling, people have had a lot of questions, and that's okay. Saying the speculation of we're not social or we're not an individual because we're homeschooled because we are lumped in this one category. Not that we don't have either of those things, it's just that it's unique to us, and rather being lumped into you're a homeschooler category, I'd rather be lumped into a category of for who I am rather than for what I am and what I do for my education. Being a homeschooler has definitely come with its perks, though. I have learned so much more and I get to do school when I please. I try to do school as early as I can, though, so I have time to do my podcast and my YouTube channel and just my social medias in general. And while that may be hard at some points, I think that it's helped me a lot. Being a homeschooler in today's society can definitely be hard, though, because you either know people who are in public school or who are in private school. You don't know a lot of homeschoolers. And learning how to navigate that and be positive in this crazy, insane world is definitely a little bit difficult. As you can see, being a homeschooler definitely has its pros and its cons about it, much like everything in life. But being a homeschooler doesn't make you any less educated. My older siblings, both of them, have went to college and have graduated with degrees. My older sister has a master's degree and she was homeschooled. Being homeschooled is hard, especially in your middle school / high school years. It can be hard, especially when a lot of your friends are already in the public school realm and have been going to public school for years. I think that can be very, very tough and very hard to do, and I understand, I totally get it. Being homeschooled in the years that are your prime years can definitely be tough, and you might think that because of that, you may think that the people who are homeschooled as a teen and from middle school to high school are very isolated, which is another common misconception. I personally think that it depends on the person. I don't believe that I was very isolated in my middle school years or even in my high school year. I have. And, that can be some toughness sometimes, and that can be definitely hard. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to tell you that I haven't thought about or haven't grasped that concept before, because I really have. Being homeschooled was a very hard decision at first for me to make. I'm a social butterfly and I needed to talk to people. So in my mind, when I was 11, I had thought that it was the end of the world for me when I became homeschooled, and I can promise you it's not the end of the world. And yeah, while it may be tough, it's might be your best decision ever. And navigating that realm of things can definitely be tough and definitely be hard, but I promise it's all worth it. And also, ignore my shirt. This is a completely different day than when I filmed this podcast episode, but I wanted to hop in here really quick and just say a couple things about this. One is that another common misconception that I feel a lot of people say is that because I'm homeschooled, I have no friends, which actually couldn't be further from the truth. I have like 4 of my absolute closest friends who I love to death and have been my friends since before I officially became homeschooled. And maybe I'll have them all on one episode of the podcast, but 2 of the people who you know that have been on this podcast before is Grace and Emma. Now, I'll go into another episode probably with them at some point on how we met them and our friendship and everything, but I met Emma like right before the pandemic, and I met Grace in the midst of the pandemic, so they have been my friends for a long time. And in the pandemic, I was 13, I was in 8th grade, so they have definitely been my friends for just years on end, and couldn't be more grateful for them and their friendship. And then I have 2 other friends who you guys have not met yet, and I'm sure you will at one point. But for right now, I'll just say that they have actually both been my friends since elementary school, and I'm not gonna reveal who they are quite yet, but just know that they have just been there for me through thick and thin, and you know, with everything that went on, which I'll go into in another episode as well, but with everything that had gone on for me personally in elementary school, they have just been with me through it all, and I love that about them and couldn't be more grateful about it and for them. And another common misconception is when we're homeschooled, we miss out on stuff. That's true. Now, for some homeschoolers, I know it doesn't affect them, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I don't get FOMO every once in a while about people shopping for their prom dresses or people shopping for their homecoming dresses, because believe me, even though I'm homeschooled, I still have those thoughts. I'm an imperfect person and I have thoughts like that. I think about that. That's such a major part of people's high school experiences, and since I'm not in a public high school or a private high school, I don't get that experience. I don't get the graduation experience of walking across the stage. I don't get any of that. And when I tell you that, I do think about my graduation a lot, and you know that I won't be able to walk the stage, and if I do, nobody's gonna know me. But also, I will never experience a prom or homecoming in my life, which is something that as a homeschooler sometimes you have to come to terms with. For some people, that may not feel like an issue, and for others like myself, it may just seem a little different than the ordinary, or like what people expect from a teenage girl, from a teenager just in general. So, another common misconception I get is actually because in my TikTok about homeschooling, I said that I like to sleep in. Now, this is a common misconception because I feel like people don't realize that even though I'm homeschooled and I like to sleep in, doesn't mean I don't get my work done. I usually will, usually I get up at 9 o'clock, or I have to be with my mom at 9 o'clock, like meeting my mom, so she can give me my daily schedule and stuff, which is fine. But on some days, on Thursdays, after youth group, I get to sleep until 9:30. And when I do that, I do that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm lazy or anything like that. I still get all of my work done by the deadlines that we have in place for that. So that's another common misconception that I feel people would find like a different thing because I like to sleep in and I get to just do things when I please to, rather than doing them on school time and have deadlines, which, by the way, I do have deadlines. Homeschoolers have deadlines. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my little rant. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.